So I want to talk about modulation, and I think this is going to take a couple of videos, if not 3, maybe 4 videos. But what is modulation? And it's basically, it's used everywhere. You hear it in all sorts of modern music, and old music for that matter. But this idea of modulating from one key to another key, it creates an amazing, very cool device we hear. And I'll give you a really simple example of what a modulation is, and one we hear quite a bit, and that's your major to minor modulation. That's what I'll focus on today, and minor to major, basically modulating between 2 keys. So I'm going to use G. I'm going to use G as my key center, say G major, and I want to show you what a modulation to G minor sounds like. And I think you'll find it's quite familiar sounding, but it seems to sort of break some rules. But that's maybe what's cool about it. There are no rules really, but if I play a G major, the simplest major to minor modulation would just be to simply like follow that with a minor. So technically, if I was playing a song and it just sort of jangled around in G major, I'm going to play with my fingers here. That's a major to minor modulation. We're kind of changing from a major sounding key center to a minor, and our ears hear that, and it's not that big of a jump, even though those 2 keys, you know, the Ionian mode and the Aeolian mode, if I'm talking about a natural minor, only really share, what do they share? They share a 1, obviously, a 2, a 4, and a 5. They only share 4 notes. Otherwise, you got a minor 3rd and a minor 6 and a minor 7. But still, that sound is just very easy. We're really used to hearing that stuff. So if our ears can hear that transition, I want to talk a little bit about what we hear people do with that, because they seem to kind of be interchangeable a little bit. You can sort of stay there for a bit, maybe come back, and I guess what I want to show you is how we can use sort of some modal ideas to experiment with that, and add some complexity or some interest to otherwise maybe less than exciting chord progression. So I'm going to use my trusty 1-4-5 progression, which is just so common, but I want to tweak it a little bit and show you how we can use that to kind of modulate in and out of major and minor. So you've got your 1-4-5 progression. We've got in G major, that would be, you know, you got your G chord. I'll play with my okay, so I'm going to tweak that and play a G minor when I come back around. So can hear I landed on that G minor. It didn't sound totally abrasive. Our ears didn't really have a problem hearing that. It might even just land temporarily on that G minor, like this. It almost has this sort of passing tone quality about it. So I'm going to bend this a little further and actually start borrowing some chords from that minor, that modulation from that minor key. I'm going to use, so here's something we need to start with, a couple of assumptions here. So if this is, if my chord progression is in major and it's a 1, 4, 5 progression, but then I'm switching to a minor key, then this would be, if I use the same roots, I could play the 6 chord in place of the 1, and then I could play the 2 chord, and then I could play the 3 chord, and switch those, see what they sound like. So basically I'd end up with a, 1, 4, 5, where you have a major, a G major, a C major, and a D major, going to a G minor, a C minor, a D minor. Let's see what that sounds like. So maybe I don't want to land on that G minor. Maybe I want to use those. Maybe I want to borrow the 4 and 5 from the minor key and use those instead of the 4 and 5 from the major key, and just base the progression on that. Let's see what that sounds like. So I'm going to play a 1, and then I'm basically going to borrow the minor key, the G minor keys, which would be, it's modally speaking, would be a 2 chord and a 3 chord. So those are minor. So I should get a major, a minor, and a minor. So G major, C minor, D minor. Let's hear what that sounds like. Borrowing from the G minor now. Does that work? I think it does, and it gets used all the time. So you don't necessarily have to resolve to a different key, but you can borrow some of the chords from its minor or major key of the same root. And it's a device I use sometimes when I'm writing, when I want to maybe change the turnaround a little bit, just to give it some more color. I mean, ultimately that's what it ends up doing, is adding some color to an otherwise very predictable sounding chord progression. So I don't know if that was really confusing or what. What's interesting, I guess, to note here is that, this was just one kind of modulation. It's pretty common modulation. It's, where you're basically modulating from major to minor. You're staying at the same tonal center. So in this case, I was staying, you know, in G. I was just flipping from G major to G minor, and you could see, you know, in that first case, I'm using this 1, 4, 5, and then I basically borrowed like the 4 and the 5 of the G minor key. And maybe in my next video, I think what I'll do is take a moment to talk about the different chords in the minor, the diatonic minor chords. They're actually they're the same as the majors, just the 6 becomes the 1, but everything else is the same. And that's with regard to the natural minor. So I hope that wasn't totally confusing. I'm sure it was, but let your ears do the, you know, be the judge if you think that kind of stuff works or not. There's just so many ways to modulate. Anyways, until the next video, stay cool.